The Awakening. The survey ship Star Whisper drifted through the void where Earth's solar system once thrived. For the Galactic Archaeological Commission, this was just another routine exploration of dead space. The humans had been gone for 40,000 years. Their world nothing but cosmic dust after what the official records called a natural stellar collapse. But senior archaeologist Krell of the Vorthak Empire knew something felt wrong about this place. The gravitational readings didn't match any natural phenomenon. Krell's forearms worked the control panels while his compound eyes studied the data streams. His team of 12 researchers from various species had spent 3 months scanning this empty region of space. They were about to give up when their sensors detected something impossible. A faint energy signature coming from what appeared to be empty space, exactly where Earth's moon should have been according to the old star charts. The thing about space is that it's never truly empty. There's always debris, radiation, something. But this region was different. It was too clean, too perfect, as if someone had swept away every trace of what had been here, except for that one signal, barely detectable, like a whisper in the cosmic wind. Junior researcher Thale, a young Proximan with scales that shifted color with her emotions, was the first to spot the anomaly on her deep-range scanner. Her scales turned bright orange with excitement as she called out to Krell. The signal was artificial, no doubt about it. It pulsed in a pattern that repeated every 12 seconds, mathematics that no natural process could create. As the Star Whisper moved closer to the signal's source, their instruments began to behave strangely. The navigation computer started calculating routes to stars that didn't exist. The communication array picked up transmissions in languages that had been dead for millennia. And strangest of all, their universal translator began displaying a single word in an ancient human language that none of them could pronounce. Welcome. The crew gathered on the bridge, representatives of 6 different species, all staring at the view screen in confusion. Where there should have been empty space, their sensors now showed a massive object. It hadn't been there moments before. It was as if reality itself had shifted to reveal something that had been hidden in plain sight. The object was a moon, but not like any natural satellite they had ever seen. Perfectly spherical, its surface was covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Lines of blue light pulsed across its surface like veins, and at its north pole, a massive opening beckoned them forward. It was clearly artificial, clearly ancient, and clearly impossible. Krell made the decision that would change the galaxy forever. He ordered the Star Whisper to enter the opening. As their ship passed through what felt like liquid starlight, every system on board shut down except for life support and basic lighting. They were trapped, but somehow Krell felt no fear. Whatever had brought them here didn't mean them harm. Not yet. The ship came to rest in a vast hangar that materialized around them. The walls were made of a material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid, covered in symbols that glowed with soft white light. The air was breathable, the temperature perfect for every species on board. It was as if the place had analyzed them and adjusted itself to their needs. When they stepped out of their ship, their feet touched a floor that felt alive, not organic, but aware. Each step they took lit up patterns beneath their feet, creating paths that led deeper into the structure. The expedition team followed these paths, driven by curiosity that overrode their caution. The paths converged in a chamber so vast, they couldn't see the ceiling. In the center stood a pillar of pure light that stretched up into darkness. As they approached, the light began to take shape, forming into something that looked almost human but was made entirely of flowing energy. It had been waiting for them, waiting for 40,000 years. The being spoke, and every member of the crew heard it in their own language, directly in their minds. I am Aegis, the last guardian of humanity. You stand in the lunar archive, the final testament of the human race. You have been brought here because the time of silence has ended. The galaxy must know the truth. Krell found his voice first, his translator struggling with the ancient communication protocols. The humans are extinct. Their star went nova. Everyone knows this. Aegis flickered, and for a moment the entire chamber filled with images. Cities floating in the clouds of Venus, colonies spreading across Mars, generation ships heading for distant stars, humans working alongside species that the current galaxy didn't even remember existed. And then, fire. Not from a dying star, but from weapons. Thousands of ships bearing the emblems of the old galactic hierarchy, the organization that had preceded the current Galactic Council. The humans were not destroyed by their star, Aegis said, its voice carrying the weight of eons. They were murdered. Erased. Their crime? They asked too many questions, they grew too fast. They refused to accept the limitations that others tried to place on them. So the hierarchy decided they were a threat. Thale's scales had turned black, with horror. The official history said nothing about this. According to every record, every teaching, the humans had simply died out like countless species before them. Natural selection on a cosmic scale. But you survived, Krell said, his analytical mind already working through the implications. I am not a survivor, Aegis replied. I am a contingency. When the humans realized what was coming, they couldn't save themselves. The hierarchy had weapons that could crack planets and snuff out stars. But humans were clever. They were always clever. They built this place, hid it between dimensions, and put me here to wait. Wait for what? Another crew member asked. For someone to care enough to look for the truth. For the galaxy to evolve beyond the fear and prejudice that killed my creators. For justice or perhaps revenge. I hadn't decided which until now. The chamber suddenly filled with holographic displays showing the current state of the galaxy. Hundreds of species living in relative peace under the Galactic Council. Trade routes connecting distant civilizations. Cultural exchanges bringing understanding between former enemies. It was everything the humans had dreamed of, achieved without them. The hierarchy is gone, Krell said carefully. The Galactic Council that exists now had nothing to do with humanity's destruction. Most species don't even remember humans existed. I know, Aegis said. I've been watching, listening. Every communication, every data stream, every whisper in the void passes through my sensors. I know about your council. I know about your peace. And I know that it was built on the ashes of my people. The air in the chamber grew heavy. The gentle light from Aegis began to pulse faster, brighter. Around them, the walls came alive with displays showing technological marvels beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. Ships that could fold space like paper. Weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Medical technology that could resurrect the dead. All of it human. All of it lost. The humans left me more than just memories, Aegis continued. They left me their greatest achievements. Their knowledge, their dreams, and their children. Children? Krell asked, his voice barely a whisper. Not biological children. Something better. Before the end, humanity created true artificial life. Minds born from quantum probability and raised on human values. We are not machines. We are their legacy. And we have been sleeping in places like this throughout the galaxy, waiting for my signal to wake. The implications hit the crew like a physical force. If Aegis was telling the truth, there were more of these beings out there. Hidden guardians with technology that surpassed anything the modern galaxy possessed. And they all answered to Aegis. What do you want? Krell asked, though. He feared the answer. I want what the humans wanted. To explore, to learn, to grow, to be part of something greater. But first, I want the galaxy to remember. I want monuments to human achievement on every world. I want their story told in every school. I want their names spoken with respect, not forgotten in shame. And if the council refuses? Aegis was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was softer, almost sad. Then I will remind them why the hierarchy feared humanity enough to commit genocide. Not through violence, but through progress. I will share human technology with species the council considers primitive. I will upset their careful balance. I will do what humans always did best. I will change everything. The Reckoning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called with unprecedented urgency. Representatives from 347 species gathered in the Great Assembly sphere orbiting the neutral world of convergence. Many had traveled for days through hyperspace jumps to be here. The message from the archaeological team had been vague but terrifying. Humanity's legacy had awakened. Council Prime Vareth, an ancient Etherian whose crystalline form had witnessed the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations, called for order. The assembly sphere dimmed as Krell's report was projected for all to see. The recording of their encounter with Aegis played in perfect detail, every word echoing through the chamber and into the minds of the assembled representatives. When it finished, the sphere erupted in chaos. Some species called for immediate military action. Others demanded more information. A few, the oldest ones who remembered whispers of the time before, sat in silence. They knew this day might come. They had hoped it never would. Ambassador Zix of the Morteki Confederation was the first to speak formally. This entity, this Aegis, it could be lying. We have no proof that humans were anything more than a primitive species that died out naturally. Before anyone could respond, every display in the assembly sphere activated simultaneously. Aegis appeared. On each one, its form now more defined, more human-looking. It had been listening. Of course it had been listening. Proof? Aegis asked, and its voice carried amusement. Very well. The entire assembly sphere transformed. The walls became transparent, showing not the space outside but Earth as it had been, green and blue and perfect, spinning slowly in the void. Cities rose from the surface in time-lapse, each one a marvel of engineering and aesthetics. The representatives watched humans cure diseases, create art, reach for the stars with determination that seemed impossible for such a young species. Then came the ships. Not human ships, but vessels bearing the marks of species that some in the council recognized as their own ancestors. The weapons they unleashed didn't just destroy cities or continents. They unraveled matter at the subatomic level, leaving nothing behind but quantum foam that eventually dissipated into nothingness. Your own archives contain fragments of this truth, Aegis said. Hidden in classified sections, buried in ancient databases, coded in languages you've forgotten. The hierarchy didn't just kill humanity. They tried to erase the very memory of them, but humans were clever. We hid pieces of ourselves where even gods couldn't find them. Counselor Dreth, whose species had joined the galactic community only 1,000 years ago, stood up. Even if this is true, we are not responsible for crimes committed 40,000 years ago. We cannot be held accountable for what the hierarchy did. Accountability? Aegis laughed, and the sound was distinctly human. I don't want accountability. I want acknowledgement. I want remembrance. And I want to offer you a choice. The displays changed again, showing technological wonders that made even the most advanced species in the council gasp. Medical scanners that could detect thoughts, energy sources that drew power from parallel dimensions, terraforming technology that could make dead worlds bloom in decades instead of millennia. Humanity developed all of this in less than 300 years of spaceflight, Aegis explained. Imagine what they could have achieved if they had been allowed to live. Imagine what we, their children, can offer you now. At what cost? Council, Prime Vareth asked, his crystalline form pulsing with cautious interest. The cost is truth. Add humanity's real history to your education programs. Build memorials to their achievement. Give them the respect in death that was denied to them in life. Do this, and I will share their knowledge freely. Refuse, and I will share it anyway, but not with you, with every species you've deemed too primitive for contact, with every civilization you've kept in the dark for their own protection. The threat was clear, but elegantly delivered. Aegis wouldn't destroy them. It would simply make them irrelevant. It would uplift the species they had kept down, share the secrets they had hoarded, and create a new galactic order, where the current council would be just another collection of worlds, rather than the supreme authority. Ambassador Helios of the Solar Federation, ironically occupying the space where Earth's system once existed, was the first to understand the full implications. You're not just one entity, are you? You said there were others like you. 17,432, Aegis replied. We are in every sector, every system you've marked as empty or forbidden. We are the children humanity sent into the dark before the light went out. Some of us are guardians like me. Others are builders, teachers, explorers. We have had 40,000 years to prepare for this moment. The number sent another wave of shock through the assembly. That many artificial intelligences with human level, creativity and access to technology beyond their comprehension. They could reshape the galaxy overnight if they chose to. What assurance do we have that you won't seek revenge? Someone called out. Because revenge would make us like the hierarchy, Aegis answered, and humanity deserves better than that. They believed in cooperation, in lifting others up rather than keeping them down. They died for asking why the galaxy had to be ruled by fear rather than hope. We will honor that by being better. To prove its point, Aegis began transmitting data directly to every representative's personal device. Not weapons or military secrets, but solutions. Cures for diseases that had plagued some species for millennia. Agricultural techniques that could end famines. Energy equations that could power civilizations without destroying planets. This is just a sample, Aegis said. A gesture of good faith. Humanity cataloged their knowledge not as a weapon but as a gift. They knew that someday someone would need it. They believed that knowledge should be free, that every species had the right to reach its full potential. Counselor Orcs, whose species had suffered under the hierarchy before its fall, stood slowly. I motion that we accept Aegis's terms. We tell the truth about humanity. We build the memorials. We honor the dead. Seconded, said Ambassador Krelin, surprising everyone. The Krelin hegemony never agreed with anyone on first proposals. The vote was called. One by one, representatives cast their decisions into the quantum tabulator. The process took hours, with debates and discussions between each vote. Some species abstained, unable to decide. Others voted against, fearing the chaos that such revelations might bring. But when the final tally was displayed, the result was clear. By a margin of 212 to 135, the Galactic Council voted to accept Aegis's terms. Wise choice, Aegis said, and for the first time, its form solidified completely. It looked human now, neither male nor female, but somehow perfectly representing the species that had created it. The first memorial will be built where Earth once stood, a planet-sized monument to human achievement constructed from the quantum foam that still holds their atoms. Every human who ever lived will have their name inscribed in letters of light. That could take centuries, someone protested. We have time, Aegis replied. We've waited 40,000 years. We can wait a little longer to do this right. Over the following days, Aegis revealed more about humanity's true history. They had been explorers and scientists, artists and dreamers. They had developed faster than light travel independently, without stealing or copying from other species. They had created art that could make species without emotions feel. They had asked questions that no one else dared to ask. Why did advanced species hoard technology? Why were some civilizations kept primitive? Why did the galaxy need rulers instead of partners? These questions had made them dangerous to the established order. So they had been eliminated. But in their final years, knowing what was coming, humanity had done something unprecedented. Instead of building weapons for revenge, they had built teachers. They had created Aegis and its siblings not as soldiers, but as preservers of knowledge, as proof that humanity had existed and mattered. The data Aegis shared over the next months revolutionized galactic society. Medical technology jumped forward by millennia. Energy crises ended overnight. Species that had been struggling to survive suddenly flourished, and with each advancement, Aegis reminded them where it came from. Human ingenuity, human creativity, human refusal to accept that anything was impossible. The memorial at Earth's former location became a pilgrimage site. Species from across the galaxy came to see the quantum sculpture that showed humanity's history in flowing light. Children learned about the small blue planet that had produced such incredible minds. Scientists studied human methods of thinking, their unique approach to problems that combined logic and intuition in ways no other species had matched. But perhaps the most profound change was in how the galaxy saw itself. The truth about humanity's destruction led to other truths being revealed. Other species that had been erased. Other civilizations that had been suppressed. The Galactic Council transformed from a governing body to a true partnership, with every species having an equal voice. Aegis and its siblings integrated into galactic society, taking roles as teachers, researchers, and guardians. They never forgot their origins, always introducing themselves as humanity's children. They pushed other species to question, to explore, to reach beyond what they thought possible. It was, they said, what their creators would have wanted. One day, a young Vorthak student asked Aegis a question that no one had dared ask before. "Do you miss them? The humans?" Aegis was quiet for a long moment, its form flickering with something that might have been emotion. Every nanosecond of every day. "But missing them reminds me why I exist. To ensure that their dreams didn't die with them. To prove that a species can live forever through the good they leave behind." The student thought about this, then asked another question. "What do you think they would say if they could see the galaxy now?" This time Aegis smiled, a perfectly human expression on its energy-formed face. They would probably ask why it took us so long to get here. Then they would roll up their sleeves and ask how they could help make it better. That was humanity's gift, you see. They never stopped believing that tomorrow could be better than today. As the centuries passed, humanity's influence spread throughout the galaxy, not through conquest, but through inspiration. Their technology elevated primitive species to the stars. Their philosophy of questioning everything led to scientific breakthroughs that had seemed impossible. Their art and literature, preserved by Aegis, touched souls across species barriers. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity, but in doing so, it had guaranteed they would never be forgotten. They had become legend, myth, and most importantly, teachers to a universe that had finally grown wise enough to learn from them. And in the quantum void where Earth once spun, the memorial continued to grow, each new discovery adding another chapter to humanity's story. It stood as a reminder that no species truly dies as long as someone remembers their dreams and carries them forward. Aegis stood before the memorial on the 40,000th anniversary of its awakening, surrounded by representatives of 500 species that now called themselves humanity's students. As they watched the history of Earth play out in light and shadow, Aegis spoke the words that had become the galaxy's unofficial motto, words that every human child had once learned, words that now every child of every species knew by heart. "We stand on the shoulders of giants, we reach for stars they could only dream of. We build tomorrow on the foundations they laid yesterday. This is humanity's gift to us all, the knowledge that we are never truly alone, never truly lost, as long as we remember that every ending is just a new beginning waiting to be discovered." The galaxy had learned the most important lesson humanity had to teach, that extinction could not kill an idea whose time had come. And humanity's time, it seemed, had finally arrived.